So people live in areas where climate is healthy for human living. When we talk of climate, we are talking of rainfall, we are also talking about temperature. So people would prefer to live in areas where there is enough rainfall. Why? So that agriculture can take place. When you live in an area which has got enough rainfall, then you expect to have a lot of crops, or you have yields. And we know that a human being is supposed to eat for him or her to continue living. Then you also discover that in northern areas where there is less rainfall, there are few people who occupy those areas. For example, the Luangwa Valley. The Luangwa Valley doesn't receive enough rainfall because it is on the leeward side. So there are very few people who live in the Luangwa Valley. Then we also look at transport. When we are talking of transport, we are talking of roads, we are talking of rail lines, we are talking of airports. So people would prefer to live in areas where there is good road network, where there is better railway line connectivity, or even where there is good airports. Like nowadays, people would prefer to move from just Lusaka to Ndola to use a plane. So in that way, many people will be attracted to settle either in Lusaka or to settle in Ndola because there is good communication. Very good. We move on. Relief. Relief is how high or low a land is above sea level. So many people settle on flat or gentle sloping lands. Why? This is easy to construct houses, to construct roads, and also to construct rail lines. Areas with hills or that are steep slopes do not attract settlement. So people will live in areas that are flat, even also for easy agricultural purposes. Very good. Let us move on. We look at soils. Areas with fertile soils, such as especially loamy soils, attract human settlements. Okay, let's look at employment. So many people settle in areas where jobs are readily available. Which ones are these areas? Usually it is mining towns such as Dola, Quito, where we have mines, or even in Solwezi, because they are going to offer employment, maybe to be a miner or to be a driver to drive the copper that has been extracted from the mines. Or others settle in areas where there are a lot of manufacturing companies. For example, in Lusaka, there are so many manufacturing industries, such as the ones that make opaque beer. So you can be employed to be packing the Mosi lager, and also maybe to be working in a milling company. So we have so many manufacturing industries in our country. Then also others would prefer to settle in commercial agriculture areas. For example, in Chisamba, we have seen that nowadays Chisamba is developing at a very fast rate. Why? Because there are so many commercial farmers there. So people move even as far as from Lusaka to come to Chisamba so that they can start working in those farms. So people would prefer to stay in mining or manufacturing or in towns that have agriculture. Very good. Also, people prefer to settle in areas where there is good security. What do I mean? If a house is just in the bush where there is no road, you are at risk of being attacked. Maybe it can be by animals or thieves. So people prefer to settle in areas that are near roads, near police posts, near rail lines. Because you know that when you construct a house near the road, many people will be passing on that road. Or other people will also come and construct near you. So in that way you have good security. Or you construct a house near a police post, and actually you are even more safe there because you have police who will be guarding you 24/7 at the police post. Okay, we also need to note that there are some areas that are not allowed for human occupation. These are protected areas such as game reserves, forest reserves, and also national parks. So people are not allowed to settle in these areas. If you are found to settling in a game reserve, then you are an illegal settler. Why do they refuse? Because we know that game brings us foreign exchange. Many tourists come to look at our zebras, our elephants, our gazelles. But if people were to occupy the game reserves or national parks, they are going to kill those animals, and we will not have animals for tourism. So that's why we need to ensure that people do not settle in these protected areas. Okay, let's look at distribution of population in Zambia, or rather how people are spaced in our country. So we have some areas that are densely populated. So these areas are mainly along the old line of rail. So now we need to look at the reasons why there are many people along the old line of rail. So this along the line of rail is from Livingstone to the Copper Belt. Livingstone town to the Copper Belt. So now let's look at the reasons why these places are overpopulated. It's because that's where jobs are found in the mines and also in the manufacturing industries. Like in Lusaka, in Livingstone, we have the Livingstone Car Assembly, we have the milling companies. So people are attracted to these areas. So that's why you find that along the line of rail there are many people. And not just that, since we find many industries along the line of rail, so this creates markets. So there are people who are able to buy these goods that are produced in the industries. So there is good market along the line of rail. Very good. There is also good communication system. When we talk of communication in geography, we mean transport system. So we can talk of the rail line itself. We have a good rail line from Livingstone up to the Copper Belt, and we also have another one that connects to Tanzania, that is the Pulungu one. So the rail line is good along the old line of rail. Then we also have good road networks, and not just that, we have got good airports. So it's easy for tourists and also for Zambians to fly from Lusaka to Livingstone or from Lusaka to Ndola. So when there is good communication, you'll find that people will be attracted to settle in that particular area. Very good. We move on. There is also good climate. What do I mean by good climate? When we are talking about climate in geography, we refer to two most important things. We are talking of rainfall. If there is good rainfall, people will settle in that area where there is good rainfall. If there is good temperature, not exaggerated temperatures like very hot or very cold, no, people don't enjoy staying in areas where it is very, very cold or it is very, very hot. So along the line of rail, the temperatures are moderate or they are mild, such that they favor the settlement of people and also the growth of crops. So crops do well where there is enough rainfall and where the temperatures are also favorable. Let's move on. There are also good social services. Social services such as education, social services such as clinics or hospitals, as well as banks. So people will live in areas where there are hospitals or where there are schools so that they can take their children to school or their children can be educated. Then these areas along the line of rail, they are generally flat areas. So flat land is suitable for any kind of activity, construction of houses, construction of roads, agriculture. So people normally settle along the old line of rail because it has got good undulating land. The land which is not very high, the land which is favorable for different activities like agriculture and, like I mentioned earlier on, construction of houses or buildings. Very good. Then we also have areas between Petauke through Chipata to Lundazi in the eastern province of Zambia. Now, why is it that there are many people settled along these towns that I have mentioned? The reasons are similar to the ones we have already done. Fertile soils. For what? For agriculture. So people settle where there is good fertile soils, especially loamy soils that favor the growth of different plants, like maize. Like in Chipata, there is the growing of groundnuts. So groundnuts do extremely well in Chipata. So fertile soils favor the settlement of people. Then we also have good climate, like I said earlier on. When we are talking about climates, it's rainfall and temperatures. So good rainfall will favor the settlements of people. Then some areas like Chipata are surrounded by hills, providing better defense. That was a long time ago. Like I said, said earlier on in the previous video, that some people prefer to settle in areas where there is good security. So they settled in between mountains so that when their enemies are coming to attack them, they'll be able to see them. Okay, now let's look at moderately populated areas. Moderate means there are not so many people and also there are not so few people, just in the middle. So which are these areas? The areas along the Zambezi floodplains. So this name, that's where we got our country's name, is pronounced as Zambezi actually, not Zambezi. Most of us like saying Zambezi. Okay, so the Zambezi floodplains has got fertile soils. I think you remember, if you learned in grade 8, I'm sure you did, you learned about the types of gardens that the Lozis have, the Mazulu gardens, the Litapa gardens, all those gardens. Why they plant in the floodplains is because they are fertile soils. Remember, they take their animals to feed in the floodplains, so the animal droppings, they favor the growth of plants. So in the floodplains, we have got grass, we have got animal droppings that makes the soil very, very fertile. And that's why we have Mongo rice. You know Mongo rice, I'm not advertising, I'm just saying, at least I've tested it. It's so tasty. So we are trying to say that along the Zambezi floodplain, there are fertile soils due to the animal droppings. Very good. Then the presence of water for fishing. The Zambezi floodplain is full of different types of fish, and this encourages settlements. People come near the Zambezi floodplain and they do fishing. So apart from the gardens that they normally have in the floodplains, they also do fishing and they sell the fish and they make money. So the presence of enough water on the Zambezi River makes people do fishing. Then long time ago, this area along the Zambezi floodplain was referred to as a security area. So people settled there because of providing security. You know, if you want to attack the people who live across the river, you think even 15 times, you say, sure, I will need to cross this river so that I go and attack the people on the other side. So this way provided them security. They were protected by this river, and so that's why there are people who have settled along the Zambezi floodplain. Very good. Another area that is moderately populated is the lower Luapula Valley shores of Lake Simwelu and along Bangweulu. So even these, just from this, we are able to tell that these are swampy areas. And swampy areas are usually have fertile soils. So we have a lot of water and people do fishing along the Bangweulu and the Lake Mwelu. Then also it's used to provide security. In olden days, just like I said about the Zambezi River, people would feel lazy to go and attack the town or the people who live across the river. So this place provided security. Then also it has got fertile soils. The animals that go to drink water, they leave their droppings along the swamps, and in that way the soil becomes very fertile. Very good. Let us move on. Then also areas along Kasama and Mbala, they are moderately populated areas. The reasons being there is good climate. We have already talked about climate, good rainfall, and when there is good rainfall, there are enough good moderate temperatures. This will attract settlements of people. And when there is good rainfall, probably there is also good soil. Very good. Then fertile soils. So these soils will attract people. People will go and settle in an area where there is fertile land so that they can do agriculture. Umuntu kulya. So people will settle in areas where there is good fertile soil. Okay, now let's look at sparsely populated areas. So these are areas that have got few people. So which means that there are so many challenges in these areas that do not encourage people to settle there. So one of the places is the northwestern province of Zambia. I think you know this is the area that is near Namibia. So it has got poor soils over a large area. So if an area has got poor soils, people will not be attracted to go and settle there. Because umuntu kulya, like I said earlier on, we settle in areas where there is good fertile soils so that we can produce crops for our livelihood. Then also the absence of job opportunities. There are few industries there, so people do not have employment. So it doesn't attract settlement of people. Then we have the Middle Kafue Basin. The Kafue Basin is mainly infested with tsetse flies. Why? Because it is near the national parks, and in national parks we have got different kinds of wild animals. So those are the ones that are attacked by tsetse flies. And we also know that if tsetse flies attack human beings, you are going to have sleeping sickness. So that's why people don't settle there. And then also another reason is that this is a protected area. I think we talked about this in the previous video. A protected area, they don't allow people to settle there because it is an area where animals stay. So since it's a protected area, there will be very few people who can stay near the protected area. Then we have the Luangwa Basin. Now, in grade 8, you must have learnt about the Luangwa Valley, the Vales. And you talked about the Luangwa Valley being on the leeward side. And an area which is on the leeward side receives little rainfall. Or sometimes there's no rain at all. So this place has got a hostile environment or climate where there are high temperatures and then also low rainfall. So an area which has got high temperatures, people don't like it. I mean, it can cause people to be sick. And also low rainfall, people cannot do agriculture. So that's why there are few people along the Luangwa Basin. Then we also have tsetse flies. This place is infested with tsetse flies. So people don't settle there since they are afraid to get sick. Then it is surrounded by hills and also the national parks. Maybe to ask a question, what are the two national parks that are found in Luangwa? I'm pausing to wait for you to give an answer. Correct one for that matter. Okay. I hope you are right. The North and the South Luangwa National Parks. So these are protected areas. People don't need to live there. So that's why along the Luangwa Basin, there are very few people.